Hi, my name is Simon. I'm your Customer Success Manager at Algolia, and we're here today to do a quick training around the Algolia dashboard. Before going to the training, I want to explain a little bit about the 3 pillars of the Algolia implementation so that you understand better what the dashboard can do. During the Algolia implementation, you first have to send your data to your Algolia cluster. Otherwise, when we go to the dashboard, you won't be able to see any data. That data will go from your backend to the Algolia cluster, and it's usually your backend engineer who will do this job. You also need to build your front end so that your front end is able to communicate with the Algolia cluster, and that's usually your front end engineer who will work on this. The front end and the look and feel of what your website looks like, that's also going to be your front end engineer who works on this. Now, the relevance, which is the 3rd pillar of the Algolia implementation, when it comes to setting the relevance, you will be able to change most of the relevance setting and use the merchandising tool that you can find within the Algolia dashboard. So that's what we are going to have a look at today, so that you can understand better how to use this tool. The Algolia dashboard is a user interface on top of our API. So everything that you can do here, you could also ask your backend engineer to do it directly through the API. But we also wanted to give tools to the non-tech users to be able to change the relevance or the merchandising, or use the merchandising tool that we have. So this is where you're going to use the dashboard. So here on the screen, you can see the Algolia dashboard. If you don't already have an Algolia account, you can ask the admin account for your Algolia app to create an access for you. Once you have access, you will be able to go on our website, www.algolia.com, and click on Sign In. So what you have on the screen is the Algolia dashboard, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how the data is organized. When you are going to log in to your Algolia dashboard, you will log in to the app that has all the data for your account. Within this app, you can have several indices. You can have several indices because they can have different settings and configuration. Within each index, and you can see here on the screen, I can access the index by clicking here, and then I can search for the different indices that are on my app. Once I open the index, within each index, I will have a set of records. And you can think about a record as an object. So for example, if you are within the e-commerce space, an object will be a product that you sell. Here, I will have an Amazon Fire Stick, different iPhones, smartphones, and computers. So that's what my data set is made of. And each record is made of what we call attributes. An attribute is a field that will hold some of the information about that record. For example, its name, the description, the brand, the price, or the category. So now we understand that I have an app. Within the app, I have several indices. Within each index, I will have the records that is made of attributes. The first thing I can see on the dashboard, and I'm here on the Indices tab, I've selected the right index, is the Browse function. With the Browse, I can basically test how my search works. I can use this to be able to understand better what happens for a given query. If I type here iPhone, what are the results that are going to be displayed on the screen? So I can try this here, and I type iPhone. And I can see here that the first result is a lens for iPhone. The second one is a case for iPhone. And I can scroll and see what are the results that will be returned for the query iPhone. So that Browse tab really is to help you test lots of different searches and see if the results that are coming back and check if they are relevant. If they're not relevant, we might want to change the configuration, and that's something we can do from the dashboard. Here, I took an example where when I type iPhone, the result is not relevant because I would like to see the iPhone smartphone and not the lens that works for an iPhone. So I can now move to the configuration tab. You will see in the configuration, there is a lot I can change about the settings. Here under the relevance essential, you will see everything that is really important about the configuration of your index. The first one is the searchable attributes. Here I can see that I can search within the description, the brand, the category, and the name. And I can also click on add, and I could decide that I also want to search within the URL, although that wouldn't really make sense. The second thing that is important is in which order are these attributes. Right now, because the description is at the top, it means that if I find the word iPhone within the description, it is more important than finding the word iPhone within the name. And so that doesn't really make sense, because the description could be, this is a case that works very well with an iPhone. Whereas the name of the product, if the name of the product is iPhone, then maybe it's more relevant. So what I will do is I would move name at the top and move description down to the bottom. So you can see here I've changed the configuration of the index. I click on Save Settings, and this will apply the changes to my index. So I go back to the browse, and I type iPhone again, and now you can see that the first product that I can see on the screen is now an Apple iPhone 6 16 gig. So I found now that the results are better, because when I type iPhone, I do get a phone. So that was for the searchable attributes. But I also know that when I sent the data to Algolia from my backend, I asked my backend engineer to send a popularity score. So I know from the data I have that some of the iPhones are more popular because I sell more of them. And what I would like to do is when I type iPhone, I want to show first the iPhone that is the most popular. So how do I use this popularity score? I can go to the configuration, and now that I've set the searchable attributes, I can go to ranking and sorting and change what we call the ranking formula. The ranking formula is going to be made of two parts: the textual part of the ranking formula and the custom ranking. The textual part comes by default with Algolia, and this is what we are going to use to find the record that matches the best textually with the search query that you've entered. This works with an algorithm that was created for Algolia called the tie-breaking algorithm. Basically, Algolia will go through each criteria of the ranking formula to break equalities. So if we take the first one as an example, if I search iPhone and I have both iPhone, the smartphone without a typo, and another device that is called a no phone, then I will have first the results that are called iPhone, and then second the results that have a typo with the phone. And then Algolia will apply the same logic, look at the subset of the results for the iPhone and the phone, and will break the equalities using all these different rules. Typo, the geo, if I use geo search, if the results are close to me or not, the number of words, if I have more than one word that will match within the query, the filters, if I have defined optional filters to boost some of the products, the proximity, if I have more than one word, how close those words are together, the attribute, you remember that we list 4 searchable attributes, so in which attribute I've found the result, and exact, the number of words that I found that match exactly within my record. So we apply these 8 rules, and then we return the set of results that are the most relevant. That being said, when I type iPhone, I have several iPhones that will match equally from a textual perspective. Look at this one, Apple iPhone, and this one is also an Apple iPhone. So from a textual perspective, there is no difference between the first and the second record. But from a business perspective, I want to be able to tell Algolia which of all the iPhone is the most relevant. This is where I'm going to use the custom ranking. So first, I need to make sure that I send from my backend a custom ranking score that I want to use, and I can use more than one if I want to. In this case, we're going to use the popularity that I've sent with every record. And within the configuration, ranking and sorting, I'm going to click on Add Custom Ranking and click on Popularity and press Save Settings. So now, for two iPhones that have the same textual relevance, I will show first the one that has the highest popularity because I made it descending. So now let's go back, and you can see here that it's a different iPhone that now has a popularity of 9,711, and so this one is written first. And you can see this one has a lower popularity, so has this one, and so has this one. You will see on that little trophy icon what happened for each criteria of the ranking formula. So for example here, it doesn't have any typo. iPhone, I matched one word. There was no filter. The proximity is 0 because I only have one word. I've managed to the best matching attribute to match within the name. And I don't have an exact match. And my custom ranking is 9,605. And I can see that in green, the record that is above has the highest popularity. So I can always see in green what is the difference between this record and the record that is above. And it tells you where Algolia broke the tie, and in this case, it's going to be on the popularity. So now we know how the searchable attributes and the custom ranking works. And that's, let's say, 85% of your relevance within Algolia. This is really where you should make sure that you have good searchable attributes and a good custom ranking, and a lot of your relevance work is going to be done here. The dashboard has a lot of other settings, and if you want to understand more about a specific setting, for example, the stop words, I would recommend to go to the documentation and search here for stop words, and you'll be able to understand a bit more how this parameter works. So for today, we're not going to go on all the different settings of the dashboard, but know that if you wanted to change something a bit more advanced about the configuration, you'll be able to do so from the dashboard. One thing that I wanted to show you though are the synonyms. They are here, and you can manually add synonyms from the dashboard. So for example here, I could say that a trouser, pants are the same word, and that way I'll be able to set the synonyms, so whenever I type pants, I will find trousers, and if I had typed trousers, I will be able to find pants. Another section of the dashboard that I want to show you are the query rules. The query rules is the tool that we have to enable you to do merchandising. You can find it here under the query rules section on the dashboard. So you can click on this new rule button to create one. The query rule is a tool that works on top of the engine, so that for a specific condition, you can change the behavior of the search engine. The query rules should not be used to change the behavior of every single query, but more to change the behavior of a very small subset of your queries that don't work with the overall relevant settings that you've created under the searchable attributes and the ranking formula. It works with a if this, then that type of behavior. So if the query contains this word, then I want the engine to do this. A very simple example is if the query contains iPhone, I want to add consequence. I will select here promote a result, and I will find here a specific iPhone. Let's say this one, which is silver, or the gold one. And I will put it on first position and click again on add consequence, find another iPhone and put it on third position. In this specific example, let's say that my popularity is the number of sales over the last 30 days, and I've just released a new iPhone, so its popularity is 0 because I haven't sold it yet, but still I want to change the behavior of the engine and put it at the top because it's the newest one and I know that's what people will be looking for. So I press save. It's going to save the query rule. And if I go back to the browse section of the dashboard, I'll be able to try the query. So let's do it now. I type iPhone. The dashboard will indicate me that this object position has been promoted by a query rule, the first one and the third one. Let's create some facets so that I can filter on brand or categories. So to do that, we're going to go back to the configuration and click on facets. And what I would like to do is to be able to facet on brand and also on categories. And I click on save settings. And you will see later how I'm also going to use that within the query rules. So you will see also if you go back to the browse section of the dashboard that you can use those filters to filter on a specific brand or on a category. For example, here I could say, okay, I want to see all Samsung product, or I want to see all Apple product, all the product from the audio or appliances category. So I can use that in the dashboard and again explore what would be the result if I filter for a specific brand or category. But I can also use that within the query rules to create intent detection. And that's another thing that query rules can do. So for example, let's say I'm searching for a brand like Apple or Samsung. Algolia can detect that Apple or Samsung is a facet value of my facet brand. And I could tell Algolia, if you detect a facet value, then I want you to filter to just show me the result of that brand. So again here, I go back to my query rules, if query contains, and I select here add facet brand. I click on add consequent and filter boost matching attribute and say I want to filter on brand. So now I click on browse, I go Samsung, Algolia tells me that a query rule was triggered and I can see if query contains brand and filter on brand, and you can see now that I only have Samsung products. The same way, if I try for another brand, I go Apple. Now I will filter on all Apple products. Maybe I have some products that are Apple compatible but that not from the brand Apple, and I still want the user to be able to find them. In which case, I could change here my rule and say that instead of having a filter, I want an optional filter. Press save. By the way, you can see here when I type Apple, I will boost the product that are from the brand Apple, but you can see I still have product from other brands. That's a quick overview of just two things that the query rules can do, but it can do a lot more than that. You could display banners, do intent detection, merchandising. We have a lot of other examples of what query rules can do. Feel free to reach out if you want to understand more how that tool works. Right now, I've changed all the results based on what I think is a better relevance, but I can actually use data to drive those decisions. I click under the Analytics tab, and I will see this overview with how many searches have been done on that date range, how many users does that represent, what is the percentage of no result rate, what is my click-through rate and my conversion rate, and the average click position. So a quick overview of how my search was performing, and I can see how those numbers have changed over the days, so I can see if I'm roughly going in the right direction or not. I can also see my click position, if users tend to click more on the first or on the last result, and what is the distribution for each of these numbers. Some of these numbers will come by default because Algolia has information about the query it processes. Other information here, such as the click-through rate, the conversion rate, and the click position, is something that you will also have to implement from your front end. So you will have to send event from your front end when the user clicks on a result when a user converts, and you will define what is a conversion event, and also for the click position. Now, if we move on to the other tab of the analytics, I'll go to searches. I will be able to see the most popular searches. Here, for example, the Fitbit is the most popular search, then people look for horror story. And I will be able to see for each search what is its click position, click-through rate, conversion, and how many times this search has been performed. And for each of these metric, I could order the result data set by click position, CTR, conversion, or count. So for example, here, if I click on CTR, I can see the result with the lowest CTR, or on the contrary, the result with the highest CTR. I can do the same with the other metrics. And if I click on the result, I will be able to see for that search query what are the results that will be returned by Algolia, as well as the facet values that were used for that specific search. If I move to the no result, I will be able to find the search that have been performed that don't return any results. And that could be quite helpful to increase the number of searches that are relevant to your user. A search with no result could be either a product that you don't have within your catalog, or a search that has a search query that doesn't match your results because it has been badly formulated. So for example, let's say that your users are looking for computer, but within your dataset, all your computers are called laptops. In which case you could just set up a synonym to say that computer and laptop actually means the same thing. And the users type in computer, instead of having a no result, they will actually be able to see the laptops. And so that will help with your conversion. If you find here a product that you don't sell, you might also want to set up a synonym to push product that you do sell and that are similar to the product here that you do not have in your dataset. On the results section, you will be able to find the results that are the most often returned by the search engine. So for example, here I have a Lego toy, and this is the one that is the most frequently returned for all the search queries that have been done during this date range. If I go to the filters, I'll be able to have some analysis around the filters. What are the filters that are the most used? So it's the categories and the author. And for a given facet, what are the facet value that are the most clicked? So for example, here in the category, it would be the category contemporary, United States, subject, or historical. That way I know what my users are most interested in. And here in this case is the category contemporary. In the geo, I can find where my searches are coming from. If I have users that are distributed across the globe, in the geo section, I will be able to find where the queries are coming from. In this specific case, I have 2.8 million searches coming from the US, whereas I have 156,000 coming from France. So that gives me an idea of where my users are located around the globe. If we go back to the first setting that we've done, where we changed the searchable attributes, and just as a reminder here, we're going to search within name, brand, categories, and description, name being at the top, the most important attribute. And I'm now wondering if it wouldn't be better to have brand as the top attribute. Maybe that's going to help me increase my conversion, but I'm not exactly sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch an A/B test to find out what configuration is best. I first need to do a copy of my index in which I'm going to change the settings. To do this, I'm going under the replica tab. I click on create new index and we call it brand over name. Click on save settings, and Algolia is going to create a copy of this index with the same dataset, the same configuration, but I'm going to go in that dataset and slightly change the configuration. So right now, the configuration is exactly as the same as the primary index, but I'm going to change brand and put it over name and click on Save Settings. In this case, it was pretty quick to update as my dataset is pretty small, but it might take longer for you if you have a larger index. I'm gonna go into the A/B test and click on New Test. I'm gonna give it a name, and I will call changing the searchable attributes. The name of the variant A is going to be name over brand and brand over name. Now I'm going to select the main index, which was the one called test best by, and now the replica, which is called brand over name. So those are the two dataset I want to use for my A/B test. For now, I'm not very sure about that change that I've made here, so maybe I'm going to send still 80% of my traffic on index A. And then I can select the duration of the test. I could make it anything from 7 to 90 days, and then click on Create. As soon as I create the test, Algolia will automatically send a percentage of the traffic to index A and a percentage of the traffic to index B. Once the test is finished, I will be able to find out which is the best of the two by looking at the CTR and the conversion. I hope this was useful. This was a short overview of what the dashboard can do, but you can do a lot more within the dashboard. If you're interested to hear more about the other functionalities, such as setting up a suggestion index, which we would highly recommend for mobile responsive implementations, or looking at a personalization strategy, which can have a very big impact on your conversion rate, feel free to contact us and we'll be very happy to discuss those features with you. Thanks a lot for your time. I'm Simon, I'm your Customer Success Manager. I'm your main point of contact at Algolia, so if you need anything from us, feel free to contact me via email. I will be happy to answer any question you have.